So Donald Trump decided to hold a rally at MSG, not because it was the right strategic thing to do, because let's be honest, Donald Trump has no chance to win New York. But this was a hate-filled night. Why do I say that? I'm not just throwing stuff at a wall and hope that it sticks. One speaker described Puerto Rico, home to 3.2 million U.S. citizens, as an island of garbage. Tucker Carlson mocked Harris' racial identity. A radio host described Hillary Clinton as a sick bastard. And a crucifix-wielding childhood friend of Trump's declaring that Harris is an antichrist. The Puerto Rico comments were made by a man who is a comedian by the name of Tony Hinchcliffe, a podcaster with a history of racist remarks. And the Trump campaign did not do this by accident. They knew exactly what they were getting into. And that's exactly what this was. By the way, this Trump rally could cost Donald Trump the election in Pennsylvania. There are 450,000 people, Puerto Ricans, that live in Pennsylvania. 450,000. Doesn't matter whether this guy's a comedian, but I want you to listen to this idiot and the Klan cultist out there that were cheering. Have a listen to this.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, really, really intelligent. Now listen, folks. If this was a comedy club in the middle of nowhere, or just a comedy club in general where people are fans of this guy and they show up and they pay money and they expect to hear him make racist jokes, that's one thing. This is a political rally. You would never hear racist jokes made at a Kamala Harris rally. You never heard any of this made at an Obama rally or a Joe Biden rally. You definitely hear it at a Trump rally. And he continues with the bad jokes. Have a listen to this.
I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor.
By the way, that's supposed to be a packed house at MSG. I can tell you right now, half the crowd wasn't laughing at those jokes. The speaker before, Rudy Giuliani, spotted a black guy in the crowd and told a watermelon joke right after the Puerto Rico floating island of garbage joke. Again, let me repeat this because I think this is really important. 450,000 people from Puerto Rico live in Pennsylvania. How many of those people are going to be voting for Donald Trump after hearing this stuff? How many of them were voting for him before? I'm not so sure. And this is also important to note. At the exact moment that they were trashing Puerto Ricans at the Trump rally, Harris was campaigning at a very famous Puerto Rican American restaurant in Philadelphia. Very important to note. Funny, they weren't making racist jokes, the Harris campaign, were they? And the same guy that was complaining that Latinos have too many kids, then he talked about they never pull out during sex. Boy, what a great way to get Latinos to vote for Donald Trump, huh? What a wonderful way to get the vote out and have minorities vote for Donald Trump. Now, obviously, there's been some backlash on this, not just from members of the media, but from some pretty prominent people like Bad Bunny, J-Lo, Ricky Martin. They blasted out this stuff to over 300 million followers across their social media platforms. Was this what the Trump campaign was trying to do? Is this what's going to get them to the finish line and win? And then Stephen Miller took the stage. The theme of America is for Americans. Boy, interesting, because very similar language and wording that Adolf Hitler used back in the day. Elise Stefanik, who is just a complete imbecile, said that New York is Trump country. By the way, Trump lost New York in 2020 by 23 points. I don't know where she's getting Trump. New York is Trump country. It couldn't be further from the truth. Most New Yorkers can't stand the man. And then J.D. Vance, in his speech yesterday, said that Democrats tried to kill Donald Trump, which we know is not true. Folks, this is what we are up against. And I go on social media and I said, listen, this was like a toning of like a Hitler rally, a Nazi rally. And one MAGA supporter goes on my social media and says, oh, did you see all the diversity in the crowd? Let me be clear. Not that there was a ton of diversity in the crowd. I disagree with that assessment, but I'm sure there were minorities in the crowd. Does that make it okay? So because there are minorities in the crowd, you should be allowed to make racist jokes? They attacked Jews. They attacked blacks. They attacked Puerto Ricans. They attacked Puerto Rico. And I had a Trump surrogate from Puerto Rico who did my show a few weeks ago. I wonder what she would say if I asked her, are you okay with these jokes? She'd probably say yes, because she's okay with everything else. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Legal Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. Donald Trump called this entire country a garbage can. You don't hear this sort of rhetoric coming from the other side, certainly not the Kamala Harris campaign or the Tim Walz campaign. You don't hear this sort of stuff. Donald Trump held this rally in MSG for his ego, not because he thinks it would help him win the election. He wants to be treated as a king. He held it for his ego. And I know that he's obsessed with crowd sizes, and they'll say there were 75,000 people outside of MSG, which is also not true. And it's exhausting. The lies, the hate speech, the bigotry. And listen, I could take an entire show and play you clips from the J.D. Vance interview with Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper, catching him in lie after lie after lie. It's like they want to change history. No, these are the quotes that Donald Trump has said about using our own military against Americans. He did say that in regards to Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and others. He said that, the enemy within, and he used that same wording last night in New York. He wants to arrest people in the media, people at CBS. He wants to throw them off the air and send them in jail. He attacks migrants, whether they be legal or illegal, on a daily basis. This is exactly who his base is, and people got really upset at me several months ago, back in June, when I went to a Donald Trump rally and some of my videos went viral, and I said it felt like I was at a Klan rally. I didn't say everybody there were racist. I didn't say everybody there were members of the Klan, but there were a lot of people there that are bigots and racists, and the same thing last night at MSG. That's why I call it Klan rallies. That's why I call it a Klan cult. Did you see some of the outfits that some of these people are wearing? Did you see that moron Haba walk up on the stage looking like the fool she is? Did you see Giuliani? Did you hear these people talk? Did you hear their words? Did you hear what they said? It was all hate-filled. It wasn't about joy. It wasn't about the future. It was attacking Kamala Harris for her race. It was attacking Kamala Harris, her intelligence, calling her stupid, calling her a communist, calling her a Marxist. They call her a fascist. That's what the entire event was last night. It was a hate-filled rally filled with a bunch of ignorant, uneducated people. That's exactly what this rally was, a bunch of conspiracy theorists speaking gross negativity, disgusting behavior. It was nasty. It's exactly what this was. That's what the whole rally was all about. And it's sad. And it's sad that, and this is the worst part of this whole thing, right? I give you this analogy. Now, this would never happen at a Harris rally. They would never have a comedian up there making racist jokes that are offensive to certain groups of people. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, for a moment, that the campaign made a mistake. By the way, I'm not saying this was a mistake. They knew exactly what comedian they had up there at this MSG rally. I'm not saying they made a mistake. This was intentional. But just for argument purposes, let's just say that Kamala Harris, her campaign, invited a comedian to come up there on stage and made a couple racist jokes. I guarantee you that when Harris takes the stage, or if she took the stage in that situation, she would denounce it. She would disavow. And one of the first things she would do was say, I don't appreciate that language, and that doesn't reflect me and my values. It's one of the first things she would say. So for the excuse for some of you MAGA morons out there, because that's exactly what you are, a bunch of bigoted MAGA morons, and I've had it with all of you, the Trump campaign said, well, that doesn't reflect Donald Trump and his values. Well, then why didn't Donald Trump say that? Please explain that to me. Donald Trump had the podium for a while. He was the keynote speaker, for lack of a better term. Why didn't he say that up there on the podium? He didn't. He didn't denounce any of the statements that were made. And again, the MAGA crowd about, oh, Brian, have a sense of humor. The comedian who made these jokes said, oh, the Democrats don't have a sense of humor. And he was attacking Tim Walz and said, you know, put in another new tampon. You know, the joke by these far-right idiots who don't even understand the policy because they're so stupid. This isn't about having a sense of humor. Listen, if you like racist jokes, then go to your local comedy club and go see a comedian who you think makes racist jokes and enjoy yourself. It's a free country. You can do it. It's not really my thing, but you can do it. Go ahead and do that. And I won't knock you for it. Not my thing, but I won't knock you for it because it's a comedy club. And there's nothing wrong with making some jokes at a campaign event. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either. What I'm saying is this is a campaign event. It is an election coming up in about a week, 8 days. It is beyond inappropriate at any campaign event, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people are going to agree with me on this, and a few MAGA morons will probably disagree. It is beyond inappropriate, repulsive, and disgusting to offend groups of people and make racist jokes at a campaign rally. Do we not understand the difference? Do these MAGA people, are they so stupid that they don't understand the difference? But go ahead and keep doing it. 450,000 Puerto Ricans. If you're from Puerto Rico, if you're a Puerto Rican, how could you be okay with this? Geraldo Rivera said it best. He went on social media blasting Donald Trump in his campaign. And Geraldo is right. Are they intentionally trying to lose this election? How is it possible that half the country, maybe close to half the country, are supporting Donald Trump? How? How is it possible? I don't understand this at all. How is this okay? Imagine if a comedian, before introducing Kamala Harris, made jokes about white people, racist jokes about white people. Imagine if somebody in the campaign did something like that and attacked certain groups of people because of where they're from or the color of their skin or their religion. Republicans would have a heyday with it 24/7, and they completely ignore the statements that were made at the rally last night. And Trump repeated his statements again, the enemy within nonsense. Yeah, he says crazy lefties. He wants to get our own military to attack Americans. That's exactly what he said. How do we know this? Because he mentioned the names of Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff specifically. So when J.D. Vance was asked about this in that Jake Tapper interview on CNN, J.D. Vance said, no, that's not what he said. He wasn't talking about the American people. Yes, he was. Listen to his own words. It wasn't taken out of context. He called them the enemy within and was specifically talking about crazy lefty crazies, and then he mentioned some names, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. It's his own words that Jake Tapper used in that interview with J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance was spiraling out of control, lying, defending that kind of language. Now, J.D. Vance is put in a very difficult position because he has to lie for Donald Trump on a daily basis. But he's the one who wanted to sign up for the job. He called Donald Trump the next American Adolf Hitler. He's the one who applied for the job, for lack of a better term. He's the one who accepted the job. So I don't feel bad for J.D. Vance at all. He's another despicable Republican with no backbone. What type of country are we living in where this is acceptable behavior? What type of country are we living in where it's okay to make racist jokes at a campaign rally where millions of people will hear this? When did that become okay? George W. Bush would have never done that. I don't defend George W. Bush. He didn't do that at his rallies. John McCain definitely didn't do that. To the contrary, he wouldn't allow it. He would throw somebody out for making jokes like that. Mitt Romney didn't do any of this stuff. George Bush Sr. didn't do any of this stuff. These are all the presidents in my lifetime. Certainly none of the Democrats did that. Bill Clinton didn't do it. At his rallies, they didn't make racist jokes. Obama certainly didn't do it. Joe Biden hasn't done it. Kamala Harris wouldn't do it. Why is it only happens at Trump rallies that we see Confederate flags? Why is it only at Trump rallies do we spew, or they spew, hatred, bigotry, lies, negativity? Donald Trump doesn't talk about the future. He doesn't talk about policy. Yeah, he'll talk about tariffs as if that's such a wonderful thing. Kamala Harris over the last week has been very, very specific. She's been very, very specific policy-wise when it comes to taxes. She wants to roll taxes back for middle-class Americans under $400,000 a year in income at 28%. That's lower than Joe Biden. Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. She has different policies. She has better policies, I would argue, that will help middle-class Americans. And if you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding with the things she has said on the record and her plan. She wants to build. She wants a bipartisan border bill back on the table. And that's the go-to from the far right. The border czar. She slept her way to the top. They call her stupid. They call her a Marxist. They've called her fascist. When Donald Trump's own people in very high positions, including John Kelly, confirmed that he admired Adolf Hitler, at times praised Adolf Hitler, wanted his people to be loyal like Adolf Hitler's Nazi soldiers were to him and generals. What more do you want? Half of Donald Trump's administration either are not voting for him or supporting Kamala Harris. What more do you want? And J.D. Vance was asked about that over the weekend. Oh, well, they all an axe to grind with Donald Trump. You see, they thought they can control Donald Trump. It's a laughable and ignorant statement. You think Mike Pence thought that he could control Donald Trump? It's a joke. And it's not true. And it's absurd. It's absurd. So what are we doing? Wake up, America. What are we doing? In 1 week, 8 days to be exact, if you haven't already voted, you're going to have a very serious choice to make. Do you want the man who is a 34-count felon, a liable sexual abuser, where the judge in the case characterized it as rape, who has 30-plus women who have accused him of rape or sexual assault, the man who attacks women on looks, attacks Gold Star families, attacks brave soldiers? I don't respect them because they were captured. This is the guy who you want to be the leader of the free world?